for joining us on the program from the National Assembly. I'm Lami Ali. Poor road network in some parts of the country was the subject of debate recently at plenary. The Deputy President of the Senate, Jibrin Barau, brought up the matter. These and more in today's package of the program. Do stay tuned.
Features as plenary is the constitution of a committee to compile lists of federal roads and gully erosion sites across the country that require urgent intervention. Deputy President of the Senate, Barau Jibrin, raised the motion on behalf of entire members of the Senate.
This motion, this all-important motion, is brought forward following a precedent that really worked. We had a similar motion due to number of motions that were brought by several senators in the Senate in respect of the bad state of the road at that time and the effect of gully erosion. And we had this kind of motion where a compendium was put together to a resolution and was presented to the executive government. And when a new minister was appointed, Minister of Works was appointed, he actually acted on that report, and so many roads were attended to. So we are bringing this in the hope that the same thing that happened in the Senate will happen this time around. Mr. President, with your permission, I read the motion. Concerned that so many federal roads are in a very deplorable conditions, aware that in some states of the Federation, erosion has created deep gullies, thereby cutting off some communities from other parts of the country. Also aware that some of these federal roads have been awarded for either construction or rehabilitation, only to be abandoned by the contractors after moving to site. Observes that several trillions of naira have been spent on road construction and rehabilitation in Nigeria since democracy returned to Nigeria in 1999, with minimal impact on our roads. Also observes that the collapse of the road infrastructure or the poor state of the road infrastructure has virtually cut off many parts of Nigeria, with attendant negative impact on trade and commerce. Further observes that the poor state has led to a decline in agricultural activities, adversely affecting the movement of agricultural produce from rural area and across the country, resulting in a slide in the country's agricultural output and the economy, especially now that the country needs to diversify its economy, and knows with sadness and concomitant loss of lives as a result of the bad state of the roads, as evidenced by the chilling statistics reeled out by the Federal Road Safety Commission, which is a price too high and too prohibitive to pay. Accordingly, resolves to set up an ad hoc committee to come up with a compendium of all the federal roads and erosion sites across the country, either awarded but abandoned by contractors or have not been awarded at all, to be forwarded to the Federal Executive Arm for urgent intervention. Mr. President, I so move.
Mr. President, I rise to second this all-important motion by the Deputy Senate President. With your kind permission, I will also wish to go further to lend my voice on other critical issues with regards to this motion, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm aware, for example, that the road from Akwanga to Jos Plateau State to Bauchi, Gombe, has already been discussed at the level of the Federal Executive Council in 2018, and this road was approved. And I think what is there is that we want to see the execution of the construction of this road And any further delay, Mr. President, we notice that quite a number of accidents have happened on this road due to the potholes and the bad nature of the road. And there's always heavy traffic on this road. Mr. President, recall that most senators have come out with motions to discuss the state of roads or bad roads in their federal constituencies and states. And I think the mover of this motion, that is the distinguished Deputy Senate President, thought it wise that a compendium of all these roads across the country to be considered in one motion will be apt. Otherwise, we will have 109 senators presenting motions on the issue of roads in their federal constituencies. And the importance of this motion cannot be overemphasized, Mr. President, because as we can see, following the subsidy removal, of course, if this is also coupled with bad roads, it will still unleash untold hardship on these citizens or on the citizens of Nigeria. And I think the reconstruction and mending of these roads will alleviate the suffering of motorists and other commuters using our roads, whether it is trunk A, trunk B, or trunk C. But our focus here is the trunk A roads. Definitely, if these roads are fixed, it will also boost the economies of many states, because most of these roads, aside from transporting people to their various communities, they are used to transport goods and services to the various parts of this country, and that will boost the economy of those states and also help our transporters and those that are involved in businesses that has to do with transportation. Mr. President, I believe that the issue of accidents will also be curtailed drastically if these roads are fixed and maintained. I therefore wish to support this, Mr. President. Or finally, I want to believe that if these roads are properly fixed, it is also going to reduce the issue of insecurity. We are from communities that sometimes you have this series of attacks, and if there is an attack somewhere and there's no access road to such places, of course, it will be difficult to handle such situations. I therefore wish to second this motion and pray that my colleagues will look at this motion dispassionately and also support it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, the issue of road construction and rehabilitation in this country is becoming a huge problem. And this administration needs to tackle it urgently. In fact, all over the Federation, you will see road contracts awarded but not funded as required. Daily, senators will bring requests concerning the condition of roads in their constituents. Mr. President, you recall when you were governor of Akwa Ibom State, you did a lot on road construction, not only in Akwa Ibom State, but roads leading to other states. You have a good record of performance on infrastructural development, which we have to borrow from in this administration. Mr. President, in the next 4 years, if nothing is done about several roads that are bad in this country, some of us may not be able to go to our constituency, like myself now. My senatorial district will see me a failure if condition of roads, some important roads in my senatorial district, are not attended to urgently. I'm talking of road from Kaba to Ilorin, from road from Abuja to Lokoja to Okene and several others.
The problem with road construction in this country has gotten to do with funding. When you put a contract of 50 billion, in a year you put 500 million. How would such contract be done successfully? It will take 100 years. You see so many road construction work that are ongoing in this country. They have been there for 20 years. Some since 2003, some since 2005. Year out they put stipend and no work is done. We cannot continue to approach it that way. Something has to be done differently. And we know that President Asiwaju is a performer when he was in Lagos State, and we know he's going to bring that on board in this government. We need to do something urgently. It's not a matter of bringing motion and motions every day. How do we fund road construction and rehabilitation? That we need to convene a national conference on this and come up with adequate means of funding roads and action plan. Thank you.
Roads all over the country is in a deplorable situation. And as such, it will not be out of place that all of us seated here are in support of this motion. We believe by coming together, by presenting a blueprint to the incoming Minister of Works and Housing or whatever, we will be able to address this issue. And I must say that I must thank the federal government. That work is ongoing on effectively on Badagry Road. I want to urge them to fast track the process so we can complete that road. As for those that are still in deplorable situation, it is important that we must charge the Ministry of Works and Housing to come up and take a decision on how to ensure that all the roads in Nigeria across this country are attended to. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I submit.
I appreciate in its totality the decision of the mover of this motion by way of asking us to come out with a compendium of the need for constructions and rehabilitations of our roads in Nigeria. Mr. President and my colleagues, I consider road as road to education. I see road as road to security. I see road as road to wealth. And I see road as road to social integration. And therefore, if we are connected, Nigerians will be more united, more secured, and more economically vibrant. Mr. President and my colleagues, particularly, there are roads that government has put in a lot of money, millions of money, without coming to completion. It is like somebody who builds a house in linter, and at linter level he abandons the house and he has no place to sleep. I want to stand by this decision of having, documenting uncompleted roads and urging government to take them one by one to completion. Mr. President and my colleagues, I particularly have a road in my constituency that was awarded in 2007, and about 4 billion has been spent on the road. And that road is a road that connects the people of Mangu, Bokos to Wamba, passing through the famous Ruamfari. And that is a tourist area. And a lot of money has been spent connecting Plateau and Nasarawa. Mr. President of the Senate, I admit in totality that we need to have a compendium. And I would like to ask that in the infrastructural development that will come in terms of road, I pray that there will be a lot of equity. I pray that every part of this state will witness equity in terms of appropriation of funds for our roads. If this is done, it will make us more connected, It will make us more economically viable. I thank you, and may God be with us.
I stand to support this all-important, very comprehensive motion of the Deputy Senate President, which I know is aimed at curing all the infrastructural decays we're experiencing today in our road network across the country. Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, I wish to draw your attention to some of the roads that affects me as a person. One is the road linking Benue State and Ebonyi State. This road was opened as far back as 1954 by the colonial masters due to the importance of connecting.
So in other words, you are contributing to the motion, not on your road. The motion is holistic. It's talking about all the roads in Nigeria. And we know that your road was done by colonial masters in 1954. Just like my road. So you want it to be part of what will be the outcome of the investigation. Okay, noted. It has only one prayer. If the prayer is in order, then we move to the next item. But if it's not in order, the contribution is that you already feel strongly about this motion. That is why you appended your signature. So I have noted the fact that all of you who have signed feel strongly that something needs to be done about the road infrastructure in Nigeria. So the prayer, accordingly, prayer 1, accordingly set up an ad hoc committee to come up with a compendium of all the affected federal roads and erosion sites across the country, either awarded but abandoned by contractors or have not been awarded at all, to be forwarded to the executive arm of government for urgent intervention. Senator Alero, amendment.
Instead of setting ad hoc committee, we should leave this to the committee on works when set up to come up with compendium of all affected federal roads and erosion sites across the country, because the Ministry of Works is handling federal roads and also erosion-related problems that has to do with roads. So I believe the Committee of Work, when constituted, can competently handle this. There is no need for other committee. That's my amendment, Mr. President.
A motion by Senator Alero is that we amend the prayer to say that the Committee on Works, when constituted, should handle this all-important assignment. Any seconder?
I rise to support the amendment as proposed by Senator Alero, because the committee we will set up will be in a position to distinguish between federal roads and state roads and even local government roads.
Those who are in support of this prayer say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Additional prayer?
We should be as contemporary as we should be. The burden, financial burden on government cannot be exhausted or handled fully by government alone. There are other contemporary ways of doing things. I will suggest as a prayer that as a Senate, we should go for other means of infrastructural development. One, we should go for concessions. The capital market is there for infrastructural development bonds, so that that will complement the efforts of government on infrastructural development.
Any seconder to the amendment that we should also add as an additional prayer that we should consider concessions, capital market as means of funding infrastructure in addition to what the federal government is doing? Any seconder to that motion?
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion ably moved by Senator Wadada that some economically viable roads which the committee will identify should be concession, so that private sector will come and complement government in infrastructure development. I so second, sir.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved as an additional prayer on concession and capital market approach as means of funding infrastructure, particularly road infrastructure, and seconded by distinguished Senator Garba. Those who are in support of this additional prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
This Senate should commend the initiative of the past government for introducing other measures or other methods of funding road infrastructure, like Sukuk, Presidential Initiative on Infrastructure, where the sovereign wealth funds have been used to finish the Lagos-Ibadan, the second Niger Bridge, and also the Abuja, Kaduna, Zaria, and the Kano road. NMPC tax credit, where over 2.5 trillion naira worth of contract has been awarded, and work is ongoing on all these roads. This is a very commendable effort by the previous administration, and I'm of the view that the Senate should commend the past administration, since this administration is part of the former administration, because they said they will continue with whatever they have started. We should add this prayer, Mr. President.
As an additional prayer, the distinguished Senator Alero has said that the Senate do commend the past administration for finding alternative sources of funding road infrastructure in Nigeria, such as the Sukuk, such as the tax credit scheme of the Federal Inland Revenue Service and NMPC, etc., and also the Presidential Initiative on Infrastructure. Any seconder to that additional prayer?
I rise to second the motion ably moved by distinguished Senator Adamu Alero in respect of the motion so raised. Thank you, sir.
Colleagues, those who are in support of the additional prayer as seconded, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So the Senate has commended and hereby commends the last administration of President Muhammadu Buhari for finding alternative means of funding road infrastructure, and urges the current administration to continue in that regard, because the huge sum required for infrastructural development in the country, including road infrastructure, cannot be borne by the federal government alone. So it is important to continue to explore other means of funding this, and of course that is also something that is being referred also to the ad hoc committee, so that the ad hoc committee should also make that as part of its recommendation. But we hereby commend the last administration for the alternative sources of funding road infrastructure, which brought a lot of success. Part of it is the completion of the second Niger Bridge. Second of the other one is the completion of the Lagos-Ibadan, it's almost completed. And then, of course, the Lagos-Kaduna, Kano, Abuja, Kaduna, Zaria, Kano, and etc. So let me thank the Deputy Senate President for bringing this all-important motion. I hope that with this motion now, the individual motions on erosion and roads, have this committee that is looking into the entirety of the road infrastructure and erosion issues in the country. It will be fantastic to submit the memorandum to the committee in that regard. So thank you, distinguished colleagues, for all your contributions. For the committee to handle this all-important assignment, distinguished Senator Abdullahi Yahya, the former Senate leader, will be the chairman. Distinguished Senator Engineer Patrick Ndubweze will be one of the members to represent the Southeast. Distinguished Senator Togumbo Abiru will be a member representing the Southwest. Distinguished Senator Aminu Tamboa, His Excellency and Speaker Emeritus, will represent the Northwest. Distinguished Senator Engineer Sadiku Abubakar will represent the Northeast. Distinguished Senator Asukwo Ekpeyon will represent the South-South. Distinguished Senator Babangida Oseni will represent the North Central. And then Distinguished Senator Adamu Alero will be a member on account of experience. And then we have Distinguished Senator Binos Yaro, who properly represent the Northeast. We have Distinguished Senator Salihu Mustafa, also of the North Central. And then we have Distinguished Senator Victor Ome, also representing the Southeast. So this will be the composition of the Senate committee to cater for this issue.
Senate also set up an ad hoc committee to investigate alleged unprofessional conduct of some of the personnel of the Nigeria Customs Service while handling firearms.
On the urgent need to investigate the abuse of firearms by officers of the Nigerian Customs Service in Katsina State. Aware that the Nigerian Customs Service is authorized to carry firearms in the course of their duties. This is aimed at assisting the service to effectively counter activities of smugglers who have recently become emboldened in their attack on custom personnel, in many cases using sophisticated weapons. Worried that some officers of the Nigerian Customs Service, who should be civil and professional in their engagements and handling of firearms, have had a series of shootings of innocent citizens. Recall that on 14th August 2021, the former governor of Katsina State, Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masari, threatened to sue the Nigerian Customs Service over the killing of residents during one of their border drills in the state. During this same period, the House of Representatives invited the former Comptroller General of Customs, Colonel Hamid Ali retired, to appear before it to explain the circumstances leading to that unfortunate incident. Disturbed by the recurring killings of innocent people by customs operatives in Katsina, the House of Representatives on 3rd February 2022 ordered the Nigerian Customs Service to pay 390 million naira as compensation to families of 10 victims that were killed and 13 others injured in Jibia local government area of Katsina State. Further disturbed that on 13th July 2023, the Chief of Staff to the Katsina State Governor, Alhaji Jabir Saudi, had a narrow escape from a harrowing assault from Nigerian Customs Service officials. Worried that officers of the Nigerian Customs Service at a location near Gorar Emmama Highway shot indiscriminately at the vehicle conveying the Chief of Staff to the Governor, with other aides and close family members. He just managed to escape with his life. Concerned that the officials of the Nigerian Customs Service are yet to apprehend or arrest the erring officers or bring them to book for the unfortunate incident. The Senate recalls that in September 2021, personnel of the Nigerian Customs Service shot at the convoy of the former Katsina State Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Alhaji Umar Gojo, while driving from Daura to my Adwa local government area of Katsina State. Worried that the inability to checkmate this recurring abuse of firearms by officers of the Nigerian Customs Service might lead to further loss of innocent lives and possibly reprisal attacks by angered civilians. Consequently, the Senate resolves condemn the indiscriminate shooting by officers of the Nigerian Customs Service on 13th July 2023 in Katsina State. Urge the Nigerian Customs Service to fish out the erring officers and investigate the incident that led the custom operatives to open fire on unarmed civilians. Urge the Nigerian Customs Service to improve on the training of its personnel in handling firearms especially fire discipline, when dealing with Nigerian citizens? I so move, Mr. President.
First, let me commend most of the Nigeria Customs Service personnel. In fact, our armed forces and other security agencies for serving us so well to the best of their ability with our limited resources. Most of them put their lives on the line to protect us and protect our country. But Mr. President, whoever will be given arms and ammunition must receive very proper treatment and sanctioning those who are trained to handle the weapons is supposed to be part of the training and part of the treatment. There could be only 1-2 incidents in a long time, but when such an incident happens, it tends to impinge on the integrity of the institution. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I believe that whoever is given a bullet, just one bullet, whether it is customs or police or any armed forces or security agencies, must account for that bullet when it is not available anymore. I know that in the armed forces, you have to explain where a bullet has gone. I don't know whether that applies to the customs, but the issue is there must be reward and sanctions. For those that have killed or maimed people, there must be consequences. And I believe that this motion, even though it's at the moment talking about what the customs did, but it applies to all our security agencies and armed forces. And I believe that the investigation must be thorough and somebody must take responsibility. And when we come to the prayers, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, for prayer 2 particularly, we must give a time frame within which this investigation and its outcome should be completed. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
I want to thank my colleague, Senator Musa Yaradua, for bringing up this motion. To say that we need to carefully look at this and investigate this incident is not overstating the facts. Not only the customs, even in Delta State recently, NTA officers shot and killed a 2-year-old baby. And I think the combined effect is not only the customs, the NDLA, and other security agencies. When they use their arms, they must be accountable for it, and it should be investigated, and whoever is the culprit, bring to book. So I so support this motion. Thank you, Mr. President.
I want to support this all-important motion of national urgent importance. Why I want to support is that this motion is not calling for punishment of the erring officers only. He is saying that we should have to, the Senate has to set up a committee to investigate. Distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, if this Senate rises up after our investigation to recommend punishments for these erring officers, if they are found guilty, it will send a signal to other people who carry arms and feel that they can go do anything and get away with it. I'm supporting this motion because there were many similar cases in the past where some of these officers, be police officers, be military, be custom officers, this type of thing, in Katsina and other states of federation and got away with it. I'm supporting this motion that this Senate should, as a Senate of Nigerian people, adopt this motion. Thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity.
Me, in particular, thank Senator General Musa Yar'Adua, and of course, align myself essentially with the position and disposition of the former Senate President, Senator Ahmed Lawal, on the premise that custom officers generally around Nigeria have done so well. But I'm disturbed, Mr. President, while outside the National Assembly, I have noticed two separate motions on this particular subject matter by members of the House of Representatives. Then the custom was under the leadership of Colonel Hamid Ali, and I think because he's a military officer, or he was a military officer, he hardly differentiates the role of the custom and that of the military. It is that corridor that has been a recurring dismal. There hasn't been issues with custom in Lagos, in Ibadan, in the east, and in the southwest. But the corridor between Katsina, Niger, Kano, a lot of people lost their lives simply because they are suspected of carrying a bag of rice. They will stop. Sometimes you lose brake, they will shoot you. Even on motorcycle, where it is physically seen that somebody is carrying a bag of rice, because some officers will just shoot and then they will kill. And nothing happens over the years. And therefore, when this motion comes up, it rhymes with the difficulty the governor of Katsina State is facing, because his steward staff, as rightly put it, narrowly missed his life because there was bombardment and sporadic shooting by custom officials, all in the vein of looking for those who bring in rice from the Nigerian Republic. It is just about rice, sir. It is rice, rice, rice. The major people who actually do the racketeering are not being watched. Those smugglers, those full-time smugglers are seen and known, but nobody apprehends them. Nobody even arrests them. Nobody even calls them to question. But the few ones that goes to around the border, get one bag of rice, are killed. And that's why this motion becomes very, very important, because it's a question of people losing their lives just to earn a living. So I think it is important for members of the National Assembly, particularly Senate, to understand the scope. It is about that corridor. I don't know whether there is a direct order by the establishment that whoever carries anything illegal should be shot. But that has been the order of the day, Mr. President. And I think this motion is deserving of our attention. Thank you.
Let me thank the mover of this motion for bringing this motion before the Senate. And for those that have contributed, let me also thank them immensely. Mr. President, before I make my comment, let me put it on record that I disagree with Senator Ningi that this has not been the order of the day in the southwestern part of this country, of our country. Mr. President, I'm representing the border town. My senatorial district is referred to the real gateway state of Nigeria, because I border Seme, that is the Benin Republic. Mr. President, I want to agree that there is urgent need for us to review the activities of the Nigerian custom in our borders across this country. This indiscriminate killing is just getting too much. Mr. President,
in my senatorial district, every month, one person must lose his or her life to the Nigerian custom. Every month, once a month. Once a month. And what is the reasons? The reasons are a bag of rice, they have come to pick some maybe flour or whatever. Sir, that we have borders in our senatorial district, it's not our making. It's not our making. And if people there are trying to legally take advantage of what is within their domain, I don't think killing should be an option or the best way to address these people. And I'm saying this because, Mr. President, I've witnessed so many during my electoral campaign. It was a major issue. Let me give you another instance. In my senatorial district as we speak, if you want to get all the filling stations along the borderline have been shut down, all because of smuggling of petroleum products. Now, federal government now put up a policy that for you to get a petroleum product, you have to travel from the border 20 kilometers into the town to get fuel. And by the time you travel from the border to 20 kilometers into the town, and by the time you are returning without fuel, you don't have fuel again. So these people now resorted to the idea of carrying kegs to buy fuel back home so that they can use for their business around the borderline. Sir, as we speak, subsidy has been removed. So there is no need for us to close or give that distance anymore. But this policy is still in place by the federal government. And people are still being killed by the Nigerian custom. All because they are buying these petroleum products in the kegs so that they can, because all of them are not working in the town. They are working around the borderline. So I want to thank immensely the mover of this motion. And it's not something that we just take, we just a wave of hand that yes, it's not one of those motions, because it will not be too good for us as the representative of the people to start inciting our people against the Nigerian custom. So we are bringing this to the table for us to call on the Nigerian custom and the new acting Controller General of Custom as a matter of urgency to set up a technical committee to review all this process, because enough is enough. As the Senate President, former Senate President has said, before you give anybody arms, I think there should be psychiatric tests. And they must look after them, because those people at the border, you need to go and see their activities. And the last CG custom, all these issues, I've visited him in office, I have talked to him about this. So for us to have this motion before us, Mr. President, we must take it with all seriousness to address this issue once and for all.
Thank you. I think the anger you are expressing is a reflection of the feelings of the entire Senate.
Mr. President, like it's been said, this is worrisome, but we must also accept that our military officers, security agency, uniform men, they are doing excellently well. When you look at the magnitude of those who do the right thing, it takes a few that misbehave to create problem to us in the society. Mr. President, I think that our systems, we keep on talking of system strengthening. Strengthening of our systems and our institutions is multidimensional. The most strongest dimension is what the legislature represents. In other words, one of our tools is by resolutions. Issues come from our constituency, we debate it, and we have resolutions. These resolutions, Mr. President, we need to make it have a better teeth. And to do that, I think that we need to look at the comprehensive approach to this problem, not only about customs. The police are doing their own, other military agencies, they are doing their own. We need to have a strong resolution from this Senate to engage these security chiefs and say, this is the barest minimum in this country. A life of a citizen is so critical that anybody who operates outside the laid down fundamental framework of rules of engagement must face the consequences. Our problem is compliance and punishment and consequences of not doing the right thing or doing wrong thing. Mr. President, I think we need to take our resolution very seriously and ensure that the people know you do wrong, you are going to pay for it. That's what we need to ensure in this country, Mr. President.
And as much as I support the motion of covering this excessiveness of these officers, automatically I'm very happy today that what we were fighting for then is now, and what was being prevented from coming to the floor of the House of the Senate is now in the open. Mr. President, in the last 7 years, the custom has been very militarized, highly. The authority was military. Automatically, you know that custom is a civil organization to collect and to prevent, to collect revenue and to prevent smuggling. At times, you prevent smuggling by persuasion, not by wielding guns. The last 7 years, under retired leader, a brigadier general, serving brigadier general, was brought in to be posting custom officers. These are with military officers to go and prevent so-called smuggling. And when we rose against it in the committee, we were not allowed to do the real job then from this Senate. Today, I'm very happy that the former Senate President is complaining because it has come to his mouth. The same Ali that they were protecting is now haunting them. Automatically, why must you tolerate a military incursion in the custom? Custom to collect revenue and to prevent smuggling. It doesn't need to kill anybody because of rice. It doesn't need to kill anybody because of tokumbo. But when he kills today and nobody sanctioned him because he has somebody there, he didn't respect anybody here as at that time. Until the last day he left, it was a war. Mr. President, now that a civilian has come there, a well-trained officer, automatically what he's doing now is to demilitarize the customs. Although they are killing the so-called smugglers, they are killing them too, and many of them have been buried to unknown places that we are still looking for them till tomorrow. But for us now, is for the man there now to start demilitarizing customs so that everything is not by wielding gun inside town, inside market, opening shops. It's not in our heart. It's there. But when the military man is posting them, and you know the work of a military man is to go and fight war. Anybody on your way that is preventing you, you kill. And when this rice, the issue of rice was banned, we shouted that it will amount to killing our people. How many of them, they don't know where to go? Nigeria is consuming 7.2 million metric tons a year. The rice farmers, most of them are here. The rice farmers could not produce up to 3 million a year. Where is the balance? Automatically, you allow rice to come in and collect your revenue. But if you do that, you are going to ban their livelihood. These people will go back to smuggling. And Mr. President, we need to call on the new administration to start removing the bad egg, particularly those ones that on border drill. There are many squad that they are not in our act. This is what the new administration is doing up and down. Give him the chance and we call him on what to do. Thank you, Mr. President.
Abuja, the state capital, is hundreds of kilometers away from the border town. Indeed, it will take you 4 hours to travel from Ogun West to Ogun Central, where we share border with the Benin Republic. Our traders
in Abuja, the state capital, who sell rice, will sometimes wake up in the morning and find out their shops have been looted under the pretext of customs trying to look for smuggled rice. You don't go to somebody's shop at 3 a.m. when the person is not there. You break open the shop, then you are looking for smuggled rice in the shop. Ogun East, that is also even further away from the border town. You find customs moving from the border town to Shagam to Ijebu-Ode, and in the process, they also kill people, not at the border towns now, but right inside major cities in Ogun State, under the pretext that some of these traders, when I serve as the chief of staff to the governor of the state, we start up a committee, and the traders will say, all these customs will now come to their shops at midnight, from the border town up to the point they get to Abeokuta, they settle them all the way. Why would you collect money from them on the way, only to come to their shops at 3 a.m., 2 a.m., under the pretext of looking for smuggled rice? So I think the issue requires, just goes beyond mere condemnation and urging the Nigerian Customs to set up an investigation. This Senate must rise to the occasion, not only for the loss of lives, but the loss of livelihood of our people in different parts of the country, regardless of whether you share borders with other countries or you are even within towns. Therefore, I am when we get to the prayers, that we need to set up an ad hoc committee to look at these issues in totality to prevent occurrence of this ugly incident now and then. Thank you, Mr. President.
Most of these firearms and the way they use them, there are standing instructions regarding firearms, especially the presiding officers that you have your orderlies. Please ensure that all those ones have their pistol on safety catch. Now, the problem we're having with some of these customs, civil defense, most of them are using what we call the G3 rifles, the FN rifles. Ordinarily, most of these rifles have been decommissioned from the military because when you press the trigger, it easily goes out. So what I just want us to notice that even if you call the customs or you call whoever that is in charge, they will come and tell you that they've tried to train these people. What I want to just encourage, sir, let us make sure that defaulters are heavily punished, because the sponsor of the motion knows fully well in the military, accidental discharge where it leads to fatality, you will be court-martialed and the penalty is death, and that trial takes place as speedily as possible. So if some of these trials can take place and people are punished whenever, because every security personnel carrying firearms, you're supposed to know that your firearm is supposed to always be on safety catch, especially those using FN rifles and G3, and because those are most of the rifles I've been seeing customs using. So what I am supporting the motion, but what I'm just begging in the prayers is that let this Senate ensure that all defaulters are heavily punished. Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, let me first commend the mover of this motion and be me part of the stakeholders in the first Sagamna and bordering Jibia border. This occurrence has been there for a very long time. And I can tell you, Mr. President, one of the issues of insecurity and insurgency, this is part of it. As you are aware, Mr. President, people living around that border, their livelihood is this business. For a very, very long time, once the custom decide to take position of shoot aside, what happened? The smugglers went and collaborated with the bandits. So therefore, it's become a kind of clash that happening day in, day out. Mr. President, yes, there's a rules of engagement. They should not shoot until maybe on self-defense or otherwise. But Mr. President, is a situation that in that area is very, 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 very bad. Let me be a little bit selfish. When we are doing campaign in 2015, the people that supported us or supported Muhammad Buhari then around that area are those boys, men and women in that business. But Mr. President, if those groups, I was opportune to meet with them in 2017, they come to pay me courtesy call. When I started asking, where is one person she was shot by custom? Why this person was shot by custom? Well, and they mentioned about 10 out of them. All of them were shot by custom. I asked them how. They said the position they have taken is anybody that came with rice, not any drugs or any other thing, rice. So, Mr. President, I'll be on the opinion that this Hello Chamber should take this matter very serious. The life of human in Nigeria, I think, is valued. The chicken is more valued than that which is not supposed to. In governance, the post is life and property of citizens. But if we can employ and give guns to the people to protect the life and properties and safeguard our territorial integrity and standing up against our citizens, I think this is something serious need to be done. So therefore, Mr. President, I will flow with let's have a kind of a committee to interact with the custom and find a lasting solution, because it's not having our government very well. So, Mr. President, I also thank you very much.
Importation of rice in this country is not banned, it's not prohibited. What the law says is that you should bring the rice through the seaport, not through the border. And you pay 70% import duty and clear it and bring it to the market to sell. Unfortunately,
just a question. Just a question. In Katsina, you see a village that is less than 1 kilometer from the next country. So for them to buy rice and sell, they have to take the other country should take the rice to Lagos port, bring it in and pay 70%, then take it back to Katsina, and then okay, please.
To be clear,
because you are saying that there is only one entry that is allowed by and that entry is through the seaport, and so if it is through the land border, and you are just living half a kilometer away, you can't go there and buy and pay duties.
As I said earlier, importation of rice in this country is not prohibited. You can bring rice and clear it through the port. Because you pay the custom duty at 70%, and the NAFDAC, that is National Agency for Food, Drug and Administration and Control, will certify that the rice is in good condition and there is no problem for Nigerians to eat it. Unfortunately, smugglers have resorted to using our border, smuggling rice that is not even certified for human consumption. And the government has been advertising in the dailies and also in the electronic media that you patronize Nigerian made rice because it is more healthy for you to take it. Mr. President, it is not only rice that is the issue. We have frozen chicken. Right now, poultry farmers are seriously being threatened because of importation of frozen chicken and they put formaldehyde in order to preserve it and bring it into the country for consumption. Even where an appearance, Mr. President, doesn't come through the border, and Nigeria is losing a lot of revenue. And as for the use of arms, the custom officers are not allowed to shoot and kill. They are allowed to shoot the tires and, if possible, stop the vehicle that is carrying the prohibited item or uncustomed item. So the issue of investigating the officers that shot the smugglers is in order. I support it. And I know customs, they have been doing that, and they have been putting quite a number of them under dismissal. They have been dismissed. They have been handed over to the police for prosecution. Some of them have even been convicted. I know several that have been dismissed and been prosecuted. They are now in prison. So, Mr. President, let me use this opportunity to commend the Nigerian Customs Service for defending our borders. I know the borders are so porous. I come from a state that has border with two countries, Benin Republic and Niger Republic. And I know the activities of smugglers there. They operate recklessly. And custom officers are trying their best to stop them. In one day, Mr. President, they can move over 50 to 100 tankers of petroleum products into Niger Republic and into Benin Republic. And they don't even go through the approved route. They go through the bush. So if custom officers see them, they normally shoot their tires, deflate the vehicle, and then seized the petroleum products. So while I commend the mover of the mission, we have to also state what the customs are doing. They are doing their best to protect our borders. They are doing their best to protect our local industries. Because right now, the poultry industry is being threatened. Even rice processing and even rice farmers, they are being threatened. And let me tell the Senate that most of the people that are doing smuggling of rice are not Nigerians. They are Asians, they are Lebanese. They bring 5 shiploads of rice and discharge them at Cotonou, and they use agents to bring them into the country. Because they know if they bring them into Nigeria, they will pay 70% import duty. And there is no way they can compete with locally produced rice if they pay 70%. So we need to protect our industries. We need to protect our producers. Right now, the poultry farmers are closing their farms simply because they can no longer compete with the frozen chicken brought from Brazil. A shipload of frozen chicken is being brought on a weekly basis, and they use formaldehyde to embalm the chicken so that it will not rot. And they bring it into the country, and people consume it. And that is causing cancer and other related diseases. So, Mr. President, we should know this. And the customs are doing their best. The issue of shooting, nobody can support it. Yes, we have to tell the custom that you have to observe the rule of engagement. Nobody will support shooting of innocent people. So that's my case, Mr. President.
But really, one bag of rice will lead to capital punishment. You know, if you are carrying a bag of rice on a motorbike and you are shot dead, and like the senator Sars said that sometimes, in fact, I think it's Senator Yari that said that by the time he visited a particular community, those who voted for us in 2015, over 10 of the boys had died. And they were all shot by customs, shot by customs, shot by customs. So it means that it's something that we must look at holistically. Why are they doing it? And that means even if you bought rice in the market, you could also be shot dead. That's a simple truth. It may not necessarily be a smuggled rice. But Senator Danduse, you are from Katsina, and you must have something. You must have had an experience on this matter, so we can close it and go into other issues. Senator Danduse.
This situation is very unfortunate. If you look at it critically, it's very alarming considering the fact of the situation on ground. By looking at the criminals elements, they operate normally in the night, but the customs only operate in the morning, and they disturb the innocent citizens when dealing with the activities of what is happening. So that is why you may discover that they only attack the innocents and the responsible people in the morning and allow the criminal elements to operate in the night. That is why you are seeing all this armed infiltration and all this banditry and criminality in the Northwest is always persistent, because I made it very clear when the former Controller General of Customs came in the Committee of Customs. I asked him, why are they by 6 o'clock they leave the areas for the criminals? They are not doing what they are supposed to do. They are always killing people. In my constituency, they kill a lot of drivers when they are taking just bag of rice. And they are not taking care of what they are supposed to do responsibly to man the borders and ensure peace and security of this country. I think the fundamental aspect, Mr. President, on this very important, we need to have a holistic approach to this existing situation for the landmark of the future, because the 10th Assembly is determined to ensure peace and security of this country. And for us, we have to constitute an ad hoc committee. My prayer is to constitute an ad hoc committee that will look this lingering problem so that we can come to an end to this very unfortunate situation. Because all the border towns is like that. They allow the criminals elements to operate in the night, and in the morning they disturb the innocent citizens. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So the civil Senator Danduse, what you are saying in essence is that even those that are being killed are actually the innocent ones, because they opposed to this. Prayer 1, condemn the indiscriminate shooting by officers of the Nigerian Customs Service, particularly on the 13th July 2023 in Katsina State. Those in support of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, urge the Nigerian Customs Service to fish out the erring officers and investigate the incident that led the custom operatives to open fire on an unarmed civilian. Those in support of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, urge the Nigerian Customs Service to improve on the training of its personnel in handling of firearms, especially fire discipline when dealing with Nigerian citizens. It's a military term. Those in support of this military term in prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Any additional prayer?
Additional prayer is the Senate should constitute an ad hoc committee to investigate the matter and recommend further solutions. Thank you.
Any seconder? Yes.
I rise to second that motion.
So those in support of the additional prayer are seconded that we set up an ad hoc committee to take a holistic look at this incident and also recommend solutions. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
I listened to the even Senator Alero that rice is not banned. Importation of rice is not banned in Nigeria. It's just that it must pass through the port. And listening to Mr. President's statement that it is very difficult for us to be able to implement that particular law. I want us to urge, to pray that we urge the customs to amend that regulation to ensure that duties are paid at every point of entry into Nigeria. I so much, sir.
Well, we've already agreed to set up another committee.
The customs should start doing the assessment of duty and collection of it at that particular point. Because right now, 80% of the vehicles, Tokumbo vehicles that are coming into Nigeria are smuggled. They don't pay import duty. And simply because the former Controller General said all vehicles must come through the seaport. In the night, you will see 100 vehicles, 200 vehicles coming into Nigeria, and they come without payment of duty. And the importers of this vehicle really want to pay duty, but they cannot do it through the port.
You know, you were seconding. Okay. Let me just, because of time, let's just take it that you have seconded. The motion has been moved that we should include as additional prayer that customs should begin to collect money at all the border towns, at all entry points in Nigeria. Those in support of this additional prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it. Yes, let me condemn in totality the killing of innocent citizens just because they are found with bags of rice without any investigation, and that we condemn it in totality. We don't believe in any way that a bag of rice on a motorcycle is enough to attract a capital punishment. And then I also want to commend my colleagues for your contributions, particularly that of the Air Vice Marshal Napoleon Bally, retired. He pointed out that it is also the nature of the arms that are being used by the customs that could result in some of these accidental discharges that led to various loss of lives. I think the lives lost are too numerous, and if we allow it to continue, it means that people have to desert the border towns. And these are their ancestral homes. And so there is no way they can desert their ancestral homes because of, they will live in fear of killings in the daytime, and then killings in the night by bandits, and killing in the daytime by customs. So it's such a serious issue that I believe the Senate should have this ad hoc committee that has just been approved to look into it. So I thank distinguished Senator Colonel Yaradua, retired, and all of you for your contributions. Then, because of the seriousness of it, I believe we should go straight into setting up an ad hoc committee. So the ad hoc committee that will look into these customs menace vis-a-vis their relationship with the populace. Distinguished Senator Farahonsi, you said you tried your best in the 9th Senate. It did not work, so you will be the chairman of this ad hoc committee. Distinguished Senator Shuaibu Lawan will be a member. We have tried to pick from different zones of the country. Distinguished Senator Kao Shumaila, Distinguished Senator Tony Woye, Distinguished Senator Omar Sadiq, Distinguished Senator Akpan Ekong Samson, Distinguished Senator Jide Igbishaba, and Distinguished Senator Mokhtar Danduse. Then I've used my discretion to add 2 consultants to the committee. The mover of the motion, Distinguished Senator Abdulaziz Yaradua, and Distinguished Senator Air Vice Marshal Napoleon Bally, retired. And then the man that is most angry among all the contributors, distinguished Senator Solomon Adiola Alamidoko, because you represent Semeboda, where this thing is also very prevalent. Now, I have Senator Goji has suggested that you have a right to consult Senator Aliero because of his wide experience with custom. So this is a decision of the Nigerian Senate.
Senate also adopts a motion from Senator Abamuru urging employers of labor in Nigeria to stop discriminating job seekers on the grounds of age barriers. The lawmakers urge governments to put in place a policy that will address the issue.
Of Chapter 4, Section 42(2) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, which guarantees every citizen the right to freedom from discrimination. Cognizance that the Black's Law Dictionary, equally, when no reasonable distinction can be found between those favored and those not favored, while the International Labour Organization defines employment discrimination in economic terms as a violation of human rights that entails waste of human talent with detrimental effects on productivity and economic growth and generates socioeconomic inequalities that undermine social cohesion and solidarity and act as a brake on the reduction of poverty. Pathetic that a graduate in Nigeria who could not get a job upon graduation and decided to go back to school with the hope that a higher qualification vis-a-vis a second or master's degree could give him a better employment opportunity is thrown into a career paradox when upon completion of his master's degree he comes out to find that he is now above the age of employment and therefore not employable by the sole reason of age. Ironical that a graduate in this country can serve in the National Youth Service Corps program at age 30, but cannot be gainfully employed thereafter on the fact that he or she is above 30 years, a situation that is a flagrant breach of his fundamental human right. Note further that the circumstances described in the foregoing presents a predicament of the Nigerian youth who has the prerequisite qualifications, knowledge, skills, and is ready to work, but disqualified or excluded from on the sole and unjustifiable ground that he or she is above the age limit by reason of his or her birth, and this situation has led many to commit age fraud by going all the way out to falsify their age to remain within the age limit of employability to the Nigerian civil service and of course all other employers of labor in the country. Senate accordingly resolves: urge the Federal Ministry of Labor, Employment and Productivity to immediately draw up policies that relate to equality of opportunity and treatment in access to employment at all levels. And 2, further urge the Federal Ministry of Labor, Employment and Productivity and other relevant agencies to prohibit and discourage public and private employers in Nigeria from putting up job adverts with inherent undertone calculated to deprive any qualified Nigerian of being gainfully employed merely by reason of his or her age. I so submit, Mr. President.
This Senate must not be seen to pass resolutions in a manner that we portray us as if we are devaluing the essence of the conclusion that we reach in this House. There is no law prohibiting employment of people who are 30 or 40 or 50. But employers, depending on the kind of job they have, the skills required for that job, the strength and all the other things that the average employer look at in making a decision, I do not think, with profound respect to my distinguished Senate brothers and sisters, that we should interfere on that. Government could decide, for example, we can appeal to government agencies, please don't discriminate. But in terms of general application, The law with regard to employment age is already in our statute.
So in essence, you are opposed to this motion?
I am opposed to this motion with profound respect.
I rise to support the motion that Senator Abamoro moved, using one instance. I have a friend, his name is Godi. Godi graduated with me. We studied mechanical production engineering. I got a job immediately after his service, but Godi did not get a job. Godi continued to amend his age on his CV until it got to a point that he didn't even go to primary school. He had to remove primary school completely because he's trying to amend his age to be young, to be able to get a job. Now, Godi has joined politics, but Godi is in dilemma because he has forged so many age because of job opportunity he was trying to get. Now, Godi has his CVs with different ages. And when Godi wants to go into, if you write a petition, you go and provide CVs that Godi submitted, that maybe he was 25 years in this year, and after 2 years, he reduced it again to be another 25 years, 3 years later. So I'm supporting this motion because if we continue to use age to deprive people from getting employment, we are creating more problem for them. Thank you, Mr. President.
I want to join my colleagues, especially those who are speaking in favor of this motion, because this portends a very grave danger for our society. We are, because of age and what have you, people can be discriminated against in getting the job they so much desire. I think that I should thank the mover of this great motion because he has brought this to the public discourse, and we must continually interrogate this further because it's something that we must speak to, that we must advise, even if we start from the federal establishment, MDAs, that they should not discriminate against anybody, either you are 25, you are 25 or whatever. If you are qualified for this job, you must be employed because it is not your responsibility. I know in terms of age, discrimination in terms of age, that's what we're talking about. You should not be discriminated against because you are 35, you are not 25, you will not be employed. No, we should advise, we are going to start with MDAs, that people should be given the employment opportunity because it is not their fault that they are not employed early in life. We should continually interrogate and advise against such practices. Even if it is not in our law, we should continually tell those who are at the aims of affairs in the various ministry and MDAs that it should not be the practice. Everybody should be given the opportunity they so desire or deserve.
I would just like to add my voice to what distinguished Senator His Excellency Adam Oshiomhole said. I think that as the Senate, we must at all times be mindful of what the law permits. I think it's very important. Now, as distinguished Senator Adams of Oshiomhole said, you cannot legislate in the manner in which we are suggesting. And I give a simple example. There are companies where they would say, retirement age is 50. When you are 50, you must go. You can't do anything about it. It's the same thing when they say entry level is X. It's not, let us not mix it with discrimination. When you employ somebody, you have a situation in which there are KPIs. There are things that you expect the person to do. Now, age plays a factor in that. The employer has decided that I want you to be in this position. For you to be in that position, you must have certain attributes. Those attributes can only be found. It could, for example, be development of your skills. And say, look, at a certain age, it will be difficult for you to develop those skills. And therefore, it is important in passing any motion that whilst we may be emotional about it, we have to be sure that it is lawful and legal. And I said the same thing that Senator Oshiomhole. It is something that is not lawful. So for you to say you urge the ministry to do X, Y, Z, when in fact the ministry cannot do it lawfully, I don't think it is right. Thank you very much.
We go to the prayers and see whether there will be an amendment. Prayer 1. Urge the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment and Productivity to immediately draw up policies that relate to equality of opportunity and treatment in access to employment at all levels. Those who are in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2. Urge the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment and Productivity and other relevant agencies to prohibit and discourage public and private employers in Nigeria from putting up job adverts with inherent undertone calculated to deprive any qualified Nigerian of being gainfully employed merely by reason of his or her age. Those who are in support of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it.
Urge the Federal Civil Service Commission and the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation to revise the extant guidelines for appointment, promotion, and discipline with a view to removing impediments and restrictions on account of age.
I stand to second the motion moved by Senator Abdullahi Yahya. I so second.
Thank you. The motion has been moved by distinguished Senator Yahya that the Federal Civil Service Commission and Office of the Head of Civil Service should immediately revise their guidelines on promotions, on appointment, promotions, etc., to remove impediments that tend to discriminate against certain public officers or civil servants on account of age, and seconded by distinguished Senator Goje. Those who are in support of this additional prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Some of our children have finished schools, maybe probably at the age of 30, and for 7 years they've not been able to get employment. So if people keep looking for people who are 20, 25 years old, it means that those other ones will never have an opportunity to become anything in the society. So I thank you for this, because it's a major issue of discrimination. Thank you.
And that's the size of our package on the program today. We thank you for watching. Bye for now.